Welcome to Crimes Beyond Borders, where we'll bring you the most thrilling true crime stories every single day. If you're fascinated by mystery, intrigue, and the darker side of human nature, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and join us as we unravel the most shocking and perplexing criminal cases from around the world. The story is about to begin after this intro.
From city streets to far-off lands, mystery slipping through our hands. Crimes beyond borders they speak, voices strong but words are meek. Every story leaves a mark, whispers softly in the dark.
Our stories at first are made for ourselves, to comfort us, to help us sleep, and to learn. Along the way, they become a part of our journey, teaching us English and fueling our passion for true crime. So, listen carefully, and if you're about to sleep, close your eyes. Let's begin. Here's a story that involves both murder and deeply disturbing behavior, involving one of the most infamous American serial killers, Ed Gein. While he is widely known as the inspiration behind several fictional characters like Norman Bates from Psycho, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Buffalo Bill from The Silence of the Lambs, his real-life crimes are even more grotesque. His story combines gruesome murders with an obsession with human bodies in a way that shocked the world. The life and horrors of Ed Gein, the Butcher of Plainfield. In the quiet, rural town of Plainfield, Wisconsin, during the 1950s, the community knew Ed Gein as a reclusive and strange man who lived on his family's isolated farm. He appeared harmless, odd, but unremarkable. However, behind the veneer of normalcy lay a dark obsession with death, skin, and the human body that would later become the stuff of nightmares. Ed Gein's gruesome acts of murder, body mutilation, and necrophilia would not only horrify the local town, but also leave a lasting legacy in popular culture as the inspiration for several horror icons. Gein's horrific crimes were discovered in 1957, but the twisted nature of his actions had been brewing for decades. His disturbing relationship with his mother, his fascination with death, and his desecration of graves and bodies make his story one of the most bizarre and macabre in the annals of true crime. Early life. The formation of a monster. Edward Theodore Gein was born on August 27, 1906, to George and Augusta Gein. His father was an alcoholic who struggled to hold down a job, while his mother, Augusta, was a fanatically religious woman who dominated every aspect of Ed's life. Augusta was a strict Lutheran who instilled in Ed and his older brother Henry that women, aside from herself, were sinful and corrupt. She preached about the evils of lust, sex, and worldly temptations, enforcing her distorted morality through isolation and emotional abuse. Augusta exerted complete control over the family, keeping her two sons socially isolated from the outside world. The Gein family lived on a remote 155-acre farm outside of Plainfield, Wisconsin. Augusta rarely allowed her sons to leave the property unless it was to attend school or to complete chores. She controlled their lives to such an extent that Ed never developed meaningful relationships outside of his mother and brother. His attachment to Augusta grew unhealthy, and he began to see her as a symbol of purity and virtue, while internalizing her warped views of sex, sin, and the human body. Tragedy struck the Gein family in 1940 when Ed's father George died of heart failure. This left the two sons under even tighter control by their mother. Over time, Ed's brother Henry began to question Augusta's teachings and grew concerned about Ed's unhealthy dependence on her. In 1944, Henry died under mysterious circumstances in a brush fire on the family farm. Some speculate that Ed may have been involved, but nothing was ever proven. After Henry's death, Ed's bond with Augusta grew even stronger. In 1945, when Augusta died of a stroke, Ed was left utterly devastated. The only person he had ever truly known, the one who shaped his worldview and controlled his life, was gone. After her death, Ed kept the family farm, but became increasingly reclusive, retreating into a bizarre fantasy world where his obsession with death, corpses, his mother's twisted ideals would eventually manifest in horrifying ways. The descent into darkness, grave robbing, and human skin. After Augusta's death, Ed's behavior became more erratic. He began to delve into necrophilia and body mutilation. Fascinated with anatomy and the human body, Ed reportedly read medical books and anatomy texts and developed an interest in death and the female form. His fascination with death soon led him to the local graveyard, where he began to exhume recently buried bodies. Gein would later admit that he dug up at least 40 graves from local cemeteries over a period of years. Under cover of darkness, he would dig up the corpses of women who reminded him of his mother. He often took the bodies back to his farm, where he would perform grotesque experiments and mutilations on them. Gein was particularly interested in the skin of these corpses, which he would carefully remove and tan in a process similar to that used in making leather. What Gein did with the skin he harvested from these bodies is the most disturbing part of his story. He created masks, clothing, and household items out of human flesh. Among the grisly artifacts found later in his home were human skulls used as bowls, a lampshade made from human skin, and a chair upholstered with human skin. Most shockingly, Gein constructed a woman's suit made entirely out of the skin of the bodies he had exhumed. He would wear this suit in an attempt to become his mother, fulfilling a bizarre fantasy of transforming into her. Gein's necrophilic tendencies also extended to sexual acts with the corpses. While he denied having intercourse with the bodies, stating that they smelled too bad, it was clear that his mutilations were motivated by a sexual and psychological obsession with death, control, and the female body. The murders, from grave robbing to killing line. For years, Ed Gein managed to avoid detection as he indulged in his macabre activities. However, grave robbing no longer satisfied his dark desires. Eventually, he escalated from desecrating corpses to committing murder. On November 16, 1957, Bernice Worden, a 58-year-old hardware store owner in Plainfield, disappeared. Her last customer was Ed Gein, who had been seen in her store the morning of her disappearance. When Worden's son, who was the deputy sheriff, entered the store later that day, he found the cash register open, blood stains on the floor, and his mother missing. The investigation quickly led authorities to Gein's farm, where they discovered a scene straight out of a nightmare. In Gein's farmhouse, investigators found Bernice Worden's decapitated body hanging upside down in a shed, gutted like a deer. Her head was found in a sack, and her heart was placed in a plastic bag. Worden had been shot with a rifle before Gein mutilated her body. But this was only the beginning of the horrors that would be uncovered on the Gein farm. Upon searching the house, police discovered the human skin masks, furniture made from body parts, and various other gruesome trophies that Gein had created from the corpses he had dug up or killed. Among the items found were 9 masks made from human skin, some with hair still attached, a corset made from a human torso, skinned from shoulders to waist, leggings made from human leg skin, human skulls mounted on bedposts, a belt made of female nipples, a box filled with severed noses, lampshades and chairs covered in human skin, Bernice Worden's face peeled off and made into a mask. The gruesome discovery sent shockwaves through the community and the world. As the extent of Gein's depravity came to light, it became clear that this mild-mannered, quiet man had been hiding a house of horrors. In addition to Bernice Worden, Gein was also linked to the disappearance of Mary Hogan, a local tavern owner who had gone missing 3 years earlier. Hogan's remains were later found in Gein's house, confirming that she had been one of his victims. The trial and legacy. A lasting horror, Ed Gein was arrested and charged with Bernice Worden's murder in 1957. However, due to his obvious mental instability, he was found legally insane and unfit to stand trial. He was sent to Central State Hospital for the criminally insane, where he would spend the rest of his life. In 1968, Gein was deemed mentally competent to stand trial. He was convicted of first-degree murder in the death of Bernice Worden, but was again declared insane and committed to a psychiatric institution. He died in 1984 of respiratory failure at the age of 77, still incarcerated in a mental hospital. The psychological profile, Ed Gein's mind psychiatrists who examined Gein determined that he suffered from severe psychosis, likely exacerbated by his abusive upbringing and deep-seated mother complex. His unhealthy attachment to his mother, coupled with the isolation imposed by her, created a warped perception of women and death. After Augusta's death, Gein's desire to resurrect her in some way drove his actions. Gein's use of human skin and his attempt to construct a woman's suit have been interpreted. The story has come to an end, but stay relaxed. If you feel yourself drifting off to sleep, just let the video play and enjoy the soothing music in the background. Let it guide you gently into rest. We'll be here, bringing you more stories every night. Sleep well, and see you tomorrow at 8 p.m.
Streets, dark shadows creep, footsteps vanish down alleys deep. Silent whispers, cities asleep, mystery in the air it seeps. Flickering lamps dimly glow, secrets hidden where few will go. In the half-light truth begins to show, unseen forces pull and tow. Windows shut, curtains drawn tight, lonely figures melt in the night. Echoes fade out of sight, moonlight bathes the world in fright. Ticking clocks, relentless sound, time slips when danger's around. In the shadows, lost and found, haunting silence so profound. Flickering lamps dimly glow, secrets hidden where few will go. In the half-light truth begins to show, unseen forces pull and tow. Windows shut, curtains drawn tight, lonely figures melt in the night. Echoes fade out of sight,